This show is part of the RetroZap.com podcast network.
Attention Skywalkers. Spoilers ahead.
Warning.
Attention Skywalkers. Spoilers ahead.
Warning.
Spoilers ahead. Spoilers ahead.
I'm glad you're here to tell us these things.
I'm gonna be a pilot. Best in the galaxy.
I like this kid.
Star Wars is obviously the biggest movie franchise of all time, and it seems to only get bigger and touch new generations with each film.
I got a really good feeling about this.
Solo, A Star Wars Story comes out on May 25th. We are so excited. This is the first time we're really going to get to know Han Solo.
So what's your name anyway?
In this story, Han Solo,
Han Solo. I'm Captain of the Millennium Falcon.
probably one of the top 5 most iconic characters in the history of cinema.
Yahoo!
We get to learn his origin story.
It's fun.
What do you think? Well, what do you know?
Are you ready?
Off to Neverland!
Here we go!
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome. Disneyland is your land.
When I first made Star Wars, everybody in Hollywood said, well, this is a movie Disney should have made.
You're more than just fans. You're family.
Best day ever!
Secrets lab.
It's about family, and that's what's so powerful about it.
Hey.
When you use a bird to write with, it's called tweeting.
When we visit the world of Disney, we never grow old. It's a Peter Pan, Never land that keeps us young in heart.
This is Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi, and you are skywalking through Neverland. I have a good feeling about this.
Hey, Skywalkers! Hey, so last Friday, we got our 3rd Star Wars film to open on May 25th. Of course, in 1977, we got Star Wars, not A New Hope just yet. And then in 1983, we got Return of the Jedi. But now, we have Solo, A Star Wars Story, opening on this Star Wars Day. Yes, to me, May 25th is Star Wars Day, 2018. Another Star Wars milestone. And we are so excited to talk about it. But before we get into all that, for those new Skywalkers we just met, I am Richard Woloski, but everyone please say hello to my Corellian sweetie wife, Sarah.
That's right, I'm from Corellia. I'm Han Solo. I got to wear all my Han Solo everyday cosplay for this film, and I was very excited. Alright, Skywalkers, for this big Solo breakdown episode, we are excited to share our initial reaction roundtable with several Skywalkers that we recorded at the world-famous TCL Chinese Theatre IMAX.
Easy for you to say.
In Hollywood. Now, listen closely as we had a special guest drop by to say a few words.
A special guest dropped by, and a special guest was actually there as well listening, but didn't want to come on mic because it would have opened a floodgate of, so tell us all about your cameo.
Right. And here we might mention that this episode will be full of spoilers.
Warning.
Spoilers ahead. Spoilers ahead.
So if you haven't seen Solo yet, go see it and then turn this back on.
All right. You know what? I don't want to keep people waiting. I'm going to tell them who it was, who our special guest was.
Okay. Spoiler alert. Sitting right behind us in the theater was Ray Park.
And Daniel Logan.
And Daniel Logan was our special guest on the show because we had actually done some driving together in a Nissan The Last Jedi fun press thing. So he's like, he's my friend. It's fun.
Yeah, he came over to us and knew exactly who we were again.
Oh, yes.
And he was with Ray Park, and Ray Park was listening to some of our roundtable recording, but, just didn't. I'm not sure. It's like, Ray, the movie's out now.
Yeah.
There's no more guesswork here. There's no more secrecy. It's out. Everyone's talking about it, but I can understand.
Yeah, but what a trip, in the theater after we had finished the movie and, everyone's reeling from this big cameo in the film.
Yeah.
You walk out in the lobby and all of a sudden there's the big cameo in the film in the flesh. It was like, holy buckets, it's Ray Park.
Yeah, and I'm sure if he had come over, he knew the one question we would have is, so, where do we take it from here? Where are we going to see not Darth Maul.
No.
Where are we going to see Maul next?
Yes.
And he's like, you know what? I'm just going to stand over here quietly and just, I'll enjoy your roundtable. So, Ray, if you're listening, thanks for coming over. And Daniel, thanks for joining in there for those couple of seconds.
Absolutely.
All right. Now, to forge ahead here, 48 hours before our screening, we went down to the, go ahead and say it.
TCL Chinese Theatre IMAX.
Yep. Show off. On this was Tuesday, the 23rd, and we said hello to some of our friends and co-founders of liningup.net, like Ric Peralta, Samir Bakhda, and Craig Hassis. And they really had to hustle on this one since they just wrapped up the line organization for The Last Jedi just, a few months ago?
Yeah.
So we had a chance to catch up with them and see where they were with raising money for the Starlight Children's Foundation and about their excitement level for Solo, a Star Wars story. So let's talk about the line this year for Solo as compared to the other lines of past. How does this line compare to that in terms of, let's say, enthusiasm? Rick?
Well, I think leading into it, there was a much lower level of enthusiasm. And so it did make it a little challenging for us to try to estimate how many tickets we needed. And we thought we had a great idea, and then there was this last-minute push. As the trailers hit and everything, all of a sudden there was crazy madness, and tickets went really fast.
Oh, so glad to hear that. And now we're only, 6 months out from The Last Jedi? 5 months. 5 months.
Oh, you mean after The Last Jedi?
Yes. How many tickets have been sold so far, and what were the price differences?
Disney decided not to do the fan event thing this year, which drove ticket prices up for Last Jedi. They kept them at normal box office prices, which were, I think, 21 and change, I believe. And we were selling them for 30. So the difference all goes to Starlight. And I believe we sold 300 and change this time, as opposed to the normal for the saga films, which can be 600 to 800. So a little bit lower turnout, but like I said, we probably could have gone with 400 easy. Just like Rick said with the last minute push. So, it's a guessing game. You never know who's going to show up because, like you said, it hasn't been that long since the last one. Are people getting burnt out? Are they ready for more? Even those of us that were getting a little like, oh my God, already. Once you're here, it's on.
Yeah, and once again, we're 5 months out from The Last Jedi, and there's a good group out here. Yeah. We had news cameras. We're being overlooked by this giant Solo billboard on Hollywood Boulevard. So, Rick, how was your excitement for Solo?
Honestly, I was a little apprehensive with the original directors, and once Howard came on, I got quite a bit more excited. Honestly, one of the first things I thought was I really hoped that his involvement and coming back home to Lucasfilm might eventually lead to something with Willow. So I've been thrilled with the news I've been seeing lately that looks like maybe something is happening with Willow. I think he's a tremendous filmmaker. He's great with action, great with comedy. So I think it's a good balance for what we've got going on here. I'm very excited to see it.
How is the enthusiasm, I would say, all around for Solo? Because I know people, I feel, haven't really gotten on board until these last couple of weeks. Maybe with the trailers, with the merchandising. And now all of a sudden, they're jumping on the bandwagon.
It's difficult because they're wedged not long after Infinity War, a week after Deadpool. And like you said, the usual Lucasfilm merchandising push hasn't been all that substantial. But as far as enthusiasm goes, I'm kind of just the opposite of Rick. I wanted to see what Lord Miller did. I have complete faith in Ron Howard. He's amazing as well. I just think it would have been a different tone. But my enthusiasm as a whole, I would say, was on the lower end. But the more that I've seen come out of it, it's actually risen quite a bit. So my whole thing is I don't want to see somebody portraying Harrison Ford. I want to see somebody portraying Han Solo. And if they nail that, I mean, Lando's a given. Donald Glover can do anything. And I'm more and more jazzed as we go.
Well, and honestly, I think that for us, in terms of planning a line and kind of figuring out our seat allocations, that was the big challenge, is that the usual Disney press push happened so much later than usual that there was less energy overall in terms of the fan base being excited for it. and it made it much harder for us to predict exactly how many seats we were going to need. That's something we never had to worry about in the old prequel era, but in the Disney era of online ticket sales and everything else, and us having to buy the tickets before the line even starts, that's made it really challenging. That's probably the most challenging logistical component of planning these events. And honestly, too, I mean, you think about what's going on to pull this off, is that one member of our line organization has to slap down a credit card and pay for several hundred tickets. You're talking tens of thousands of dollars, and that's all riding on them to guess how many seats we need. So, there's this real hesitancy for us to not overbuy and leave that person in a lurch. We don't want him to be caught with that bill.
Yeah, because what happens then is, obviously with the stuff we've sold, we've got enough to pay that credit card back, but then that takes away from Starlight. You know what I mean? So it's a balancing act, and every line we're learning something new and something different.
How are things going for the Starlight Children's Foundation?
We're well over 110,000 since we've been doing this.
Oh, wow.
And we've got 2 Starlight families? 3 Starlight families for 16 Starlight kids and seats. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Samir, anything to add to this? Hey there. Samir is now joining us.
Hi.
So we're talking Starlight Children's Foundation.
So Starlight, for those of you who don't know, they take care of sick kids around the world. And they do a lot of stuff in hospitals. They do fun centers. They do these Brave gowns, which are really awesome. They have these gowns that look like R2-D2 and BB-8 and things like that, or Marvel superheroes and things like that, which are really awesome. I kind of want them for my hospital. They do these fun centers, which are like video game centers, and they sponsor playrooms and all kinds of other things. And I've seen it firsthand when I was working at Children's Hospital LA, and all of the playrooms were Starlight funded by Starlight. And they had all these like fun centers. Now this was like back in the dark ages, so they were, I think, Nintendo 64s, or they might even have been Super Nintendos that rolled around. But the kids would love playing them, and so it was really neat that when I would go from working at the hospital to the line back in '99, it was I could actually see what the work we were doing was going to, and it was really neat. Yeah. So it's kind of nice because a lot of times, you do stuff for charity and you kind of see the work and what happens in the abstract, but I was actually able to see it, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, Samir's got the unique position of seeing both ends of it. Usually, you go to a charity, you donate on a link, you're kind of blindly putting money out there, and yeah, it goes towards helping kids, but you don't see the end result. Samir's got the unique opportunity to see, the end result of what Starlight's been able to do for all these kids and their families. So it's really cool.
Oh, can you tell us any stories about that?
I had this one kid when I was on my pediatrics rotation. He was 4. He had, I think he had congenital short gut syndrome. So he was basically born with problems with his intestines and essentially had to have his entire small intestine removed. And so the poor kid was on, IV nutrition and all kinds of other stuff. He was the cutest kid and had a ton of energy, and he was sort of wise beyond his years. So I remember they wheeled in the Starlight Fun Center, and we were playing video games together. And he was asking me to read the stuff on the screen, and I said, well, can't you read? And then I realized, dude, he's 4. But this kid had been in and out of hospitals, so he was kind of, acted older than he was. But it was nice to take that time to sit and just play video games with him and let him be a kid. And it was really nice, and it's something that I remember a lot about when I've been in medicine, is that you just got to let kids be kids sometimes.
And people can always donate to the Starlight Children's Foundation.
Right now we're running a Facebook fundraiser, although I'm not sure if it'll be up and running by the time you guys put this out. So it should still be up. If you go to the liningup.net Facebook page, it's pinned to the top over there, or you can go to the link that we have, www.starlight.org/liningup, all one word.
Well, we just can't say enough about these guys and the rest of the liningup.net crew for putting so much attention and time into raising money for a great charity, as well as doing something so special for the fans. And as a side note, you can at any time go to Starlight Children's Foundation, just search that on the web, and you can donate at any time. And they will be so appreciative.
You must donate. You must donate.
Now, also before we saw Solo, we spoke with our good friend and Skywalker, Justin Smith, to see where his excitement level was at this point, 48 hours before the film.
Push it! Justin, tell us about your enthusiasm for Solo. Where are we at here?
10. I have a good feeling about this, as that's what Solo says, so I'm saying it here.
What are you most excited about?
The Kessel Run. Like, I mean, I think it's gonna be. I mean, from what I don't know. I haven't seen the movie, unlike you guys, but from what I hear, that there's gonna be the Kessel Run, and I don't know if you saw on Instagram, but I bought a little car magnet to put on my car that says I made the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs. It's like my favorite line in the original Star Wars, or at least like one of the ones like I quote most often. So to actually see it, like, what does it mean? Like, how can it, parsecs measures distance. How can it go that? But we'll see. We're about to see it. I mean, that's pretty exciting.
I'm with you, Justin. When I was going to see the movie, I was like most excited to see the Kessel Run because it's all about the Falcon. I mean, Han Solo, yes, it's my favorite character, but the Millennium Falcon, it's like its own character, so...
And it's so bright and shiny now, like, because when we see it, like, it is a piece of junk. Like, that's what Luke Skywalker says. And
well, Luke never saw the cape room. If he had seen that, maybe it would have changed his mind.
Yeah, but here it's really shiny. It's bright and new. It's like out of a new ship store or something.
Is there anything that's worrying you as a diehard Star Wars fan?
Well, I mean, I was gonna say, like, no one can be Harrison Ford, right? I mean, it's just not gonna happen. I mean, like, Harrison Ford is like a once-in-a-lifetime movie star, and, Han Solo's so iconic. So who's gonna measure up to that? And Alden seems like good. He's making it his own. I mean, I now enough time is like passed. Like, there's some distance from it. Like, that's kind of why I feel like this might have been a good TV show. Because, like, if it was like on TV, if it was like a different medium, we wouldn't really even be comparing him to like Han Solo. But since this is like a movie, now it's like, well, like, the original trilogy, he is the definitive Han Solo. And, I'm just not sure if I can see this Alden. How do you pronounce his last name?
Ehrenreich.
Alden Ehrenreich, yeah. Like, I'm not sure if I can see him, like, growing up to be Han Solo in A New Hope or an Empire and all that.
Well, there is 10 years. Right, well, and for his last name, remember that time when we had a really hard time pronouncing Schwarzenegger? Now it just rolls off the tongue. Yeah. So Ehrenreich will do the same thing.
Well, do we know a specific year? Does it say, like, a year?
They specifically say in the film, this is not a spoiler because they say it in the trailer, when Chewbacca growls and Han says, "You're 190? You look great." Yeah. That line was put in there just so you can measure the time between Solo and Star Wars.
Well, also, we also need to know that Wookiees age, better and longer than people do. And that's why, even Force Awakens, Harrison Ford's like getting grayer and whiter, but Chewie looks great.
Very much so. Now, in the original trilogy, Chewbacca got a couple of good moments, but in this, his responsibilities goes way, way above just having moments here and there. What are you looking forward to from Chewbacca in Solo?
Well, just how they met, because, we saw him in Kashyyyk at Revenge of the Sith, so how did he get from there to here? I'm not sure if they'll answer all of that, but, I mean, I believe, wasn't it one of the novels, you probably know that more, like in the novels, like it says that he was like a slave and Han Solo freed him, like, I guess that's part of the expanded universe, which technically Disney just threw out, so it's not canon anymore, but wasn't the story that like he was enslaved and then Han Solo got him free and that's why they're good friends because like Chewie's like indebted to Han for life.
Yeah. So you don't think that's gonna happen in Solo?
I'm not sure. Like, I don't know if it's exactly the same way. Like, I don't know if like exactly the same way in the books because like it's canon, but it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Don't say anything.
I won't say a thing.
I know. You've seen the movie and you're like, oh, well, you know what. and like he wants to share it. I see it in Richard's alley. Like,
I still want to share this, but you've seen the trailers, right? Yeah. Okay, now we see a whole lot of action from Chewbacca. So I'm trying to ask without really leading you into anything, but Chewbacca just plays such a huge role in this. Are you looking forward to seeing him do one specific thing that we've always wanted to see him do?
Well, I did see the scene with him playing chess. Oh, I know where you're going. Yeah, with that. Yeah. I got it. I totally got. Yeah, I mean,
I'm thinking Uncard plot.
Yeah. Well, wasn't that a deleted scene in The Force Awakens? We actually saw him rip an arm out of his socket. Yeah.
Okay, that's where I was going with this the whole time.
Yeah, I know. When you said that, you're like, one thing we want to do is like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, totally. Yes, okay, I'll answer that. Yes, I'm excited to see Chewbacca rip someone's arm out of his socket. I've always wanted to see that since the very first time I saw Star Wars. So hopefully he rips someone's arms out of someone's socket.
That is so grotesque. I can't even believe you went there. What Easter eggs are you looking for?
Well, I was really disappointed The Last Jedi didn't have the line, I have a bad feeling about this. I mean, it was in droid talk or BB-8.
Yeah, apparently BB-8 says it at the very beginning, and Poe says, happy beeps.
Yeah, but like that's kind of a cheap, but okay. But I do like how they twisted it in the trailer where Han Solo says, I have a good feeling about this. I wonder if we'll get the Wilhelm scream this time. Probably not, because he's not working on it. Oh gosh, I can't believe I'm blanking on his name. Ben Burt. Yes. Ben Burt didn't work on The Last Jedi. I was shocked. So I don't know.
We're going with a whole new Wilhelm scream, which they're not revealing just yet in terms of this is what it is. And cue clip. They're saying you gotta now look for it. We heard it in The Force Awakens. We heard it in The Last Jedi. We heard it in Rogue One. Now we've got to just find out what it is and go, okay, this is what it is.
All right, that DVD Blu-ray, we're going to be watching it over and over.
There's some people who think that Lando, Billy D. Williams' Lando, is in this. How would you feel one way or the other?
Cool. I don't see a place for him, but, he was at the premiere, so you never know, I guess. I don't think he's in it. So.
Well, what about cameos? Like in Rogue One, we got Walrus Man, Ponda Baba, and Dr. Evazan. What kind of Easter eggs are you looking for like that?
Well, there's never been a Star Wars movie without R2-D2 and C-3PO. Will Solo be the first film of Star Wars film to not have? I don't think so. So I think they got to be in there somewhere.
Like, personally, do you want to see R2 and 3PO in this film?
Yes, it's not a Star Wars film without R2-D2 and C-3PO.
Okay, what about other characters? Some people were saying, I think Darth Vader's going to be in this. How would you feel about that? And do you think he's going to be in it?
I want this film to be like away from the Empire. I want a Star Wars movie that actually isn't about like the rebels versus the Empire or like the small guy versus like this big authoritarian government. That's all the Star Wars movies about. This is not what I'm looking forward about Solo. Is that it's something new, maybe, like, that we haven't seen, that it's going to be about bounty hunter versus bounty hunter, which I think that's cool, like something small and different in the Star Wars universe we haven't really seen yet, but I'm eager to see maybe that, like, okay. Yes.
Well, maybe I'm going somewhere with this, maybe I'm not, but how about more of a minor character, like, how would you feel if we saw Greedo?
Oh, yeah, Greedo. Well, yeah, well, how about if he meets Jabba while we're at it? Does he, how does he get to have Jabba the Hutt as a boss? I mean, yeah, so, yeah, I mean, I assume, you're leading up with the whole Greedo thing, but yeah, I want to... Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure, like, why not? Let's have him meet Greedo. Let's have him meet, every character. TK421, yeah, let's have him show up, too.
And here's Greedo, Han Solo, and Walrus Man.
You've had it now, Solo. Yeah.
Now, let's roll into our roundtable breakdown featuring Kai Charles, who is the founder of fictionstateofmind.blogspot.com, Star Wars Origami author Chris Alexander, Ghost Host and Rebel Spy Dave Skale, Skywalker Justin Smith, and new Skywalker Henry Leinen, plus several special guests who popped in and out.
Now, before we roll into that, we need to roll out a song we just found on YouTube, which is sure to catch on like a pack of hungry Minox and really sums up Solo to its core. Guess what it's called? I Want to Take a Shower with Han Solo.
What? And when was this created? This wasn't created recently.
No, this is actually a song from 2013.
Wow.
Which you can find on Playbill Video on YouTube. So these people are really ahead of themselves.
Ahead of their time.
And then we punched it up with some of our customary sound effects and sound bites, the way we do. But I heard this, and it's like, how can we not play this song? So get ready for the earworm of the day.
I wanna take a shower with Han Solo. Yes, Han Solo, the dude from Star Wars.
Han Solo.
Tear off his holster. Hey, he's out of my league and not exactly technically real, but I wanna take a shower with Han Solo. I wanna get an apartment with Han Solo.
This is ridiculous.
Just a small one on his home planet. Make him forget this intergalactic war. Massage his tired feet. Hey, James Earl Jones could live next door. What? Every day I'll take a shower with Han Solo. And Chewbacca's services won't be required anymore. Long, long ago, in a trailer park far away, I unwrapped this action figure that I clutch in my hand today. I'd wanted it so bad.
Han Solo from Kenner.
I wanna have a baby with Han Solo.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Ewoks, we'll be a family. You don't have to say it. It sounds ludicrous, of course. But maybe he could use the Force. Nothing's too ambitious for Han Solo. And John Williams will be there to help along.
What are you talking about?
He'll say, I love you.
I love you.
I'll say, I know.
I know.
And then I'll take another shower with Han Solo. Isn't that song amazing?
I like the sound of that.
Everyone put out your arms. Who still has goosebumps? Goosebumps aplenty.
Woohoo!
So, like we had just said in the pre-roll, we're going to be spoiling a lot of stuff in our conversation here. So let's go around in our round table and tell everyone our thoughts on Solo, a Star Wars story, starting with Miss Kai Charles.
Hello, this is Kai. I really loved it, and I think, just to start spoiling right away, I think the most important thing about it is I was worried about Val from day one, and I think that even though she didn't survive, it's important that if you have enough diverse characters, you don't feel like you lost anything, because she had a purpose, she had agency, and you lost her, but then you also lost other people. And I think it was so important that they didn't kill the brown person first. And I give Lucasfilm so much credit for that.
All right, Justin Smith.
Hey, Justin. I liked the movie. I didn't quite love it. I liked still processing some of it, but yeah, it was fun.
Okay, and we have a new Skywalker over here. Henry, tell us your last name.
Hey, hi, my name's Henry Leinen. Movie was really, really good. It was obviously a lot more funny than Rogue One, comparing to the other like Star Wars stories. Great character development from like the beginning of all the people we hadn't seen. It was great seeing obviously the sentimental attachment that that Han had for for the Falcon, connecting his dad and it being both of them being from Corellia. I thought that was really cool. Obviously, Lando also having a little bit of a attachment to it, being what's left of his I can't remember the name of his robot. L3, yeah. And then her memory plant, memory chip, being a part of the navigation. Overall, great movie. Can't wait to see it again.
Now, we just met you like 2 hours ago.
Yes, yeah.
So, where is your Star Wars fandom?
I'm a huge fan. Samir Bakhda, who's he's one of the 99ers. You know, this is probably like, I don't know, his like seventh or he's been to every lineup. Him and I are coworkers.
Samir being one of the founders of
LiningUp.net. Yeah,
Right.
yes, he is. So ever since they announced episode 7, he's been like, come down to LA, come down to Hollywood. I'm like, all right, and I kept on finding excuses not to come down. This year, I was like, shoot, I'm coming down, and I feel like I'm such a chump that I haven't. This is my first, not my fourth. You know.
Are you now awesome. One of us?
I am definitely one of. I mean, Samir was like, dude, this is your tribe, man. These are our people. Come on down.
And you're dressed as one of us in our universe track jacket. Yeah. The Han Solo track jacket.
You and Kai are like
we're
twins.
Buddies. We got she's got the bottom half, and I'm just rocking the top. But
twinsies.
All right, good deal. Now let's come over here to Star Wars Origami author, Mr. Christopher Alexander.
Hello, everybody. Let's see. My initial thought was, much like Justin, I believe it was, I liked it. I didn't love it yet. I'm still processing it.
What is wrong with you people?
It wasn't a Rogue One. It wasn't a Star Wars Episode 4.
That's kind of why I liked it, though.
I liked it. I didn't dislike it, but I didn't love it. It didn't grab me the way the other Star Wars films have.
Okay, that's fair. You can now leave, Chris, and take Justin with you. All right, Dave Skale, ghost host, Rebel Spy, Dave Skale.
It's Dave Skale here. I felt kind of the way I felt when I first saw Indiana Jones. It was like a roller coaster ride right from the beginning. There was like no downtime. It just, once it started up, you were rolling and rolling and rolling and going and going and going. And then when it was over, it was like, that's it?
Okay, good. Samir, do you want to jump in on this? And Ric Peralta. All right, we're going around giving our initial reactions to Solo: A Star Wars Story.
Hey, Skywalkers, how are you? Samir Bakhda from liningup.net. No, I loved it. I thought it was really enjoyable. It was fun. There was a little bit of check your brain at the door, which is fine, as it should be. You know, I thought it was a blast. I mean, it was just nonstop. The action was fun. I thought the space flights were awesome. I thought the Kessel Run was fantastic. There's a couple of people that ran too long. No, I didn't run too long. The pod race ran too long. This did not run too long.
DVD pod race or a theatrical pod race?
Whatever. I fell asleep through both of them. So. And by the way, for us old people, having a midnight show that starts at 7:00 is the awesome.
Yes.
I got to say, I was telling Sarah and Richard that I'm dying to hear the David Collins breakdown of the score, because there was, like, the fan service was fun in the movie, but the score fan service, John Powell, like, leaned on the buttons like crazy. It's like, asteroid field, check. You know, here they come, check. You know, main theme, check. It was awesome. Falcon theme, check. Yeah, it was awesome. Absolutely loved it.
Great. Also from liningup.net, here is Mr. Ric Peralta.
Hey. And I just have to start off by saying I just had an opportunity to have my photo with Daniel Logan, and he just posted a picture a couple days ago with George Lucas. So this was like, hey, it was like my reunion. It was really nice. But honestly, I absolutely loved the movie. I thought it was a little bit lighter, fun. I felt like it was bringing back a lot of the fun and joy of A New Hope without the big mythology stuff, and I didn't necessarily mind that. It's the first time in a long time. I've wanted to see everyone again, but this is the first time. As soon as the credits started, I thought, can I just sit here and watch it again? I was just ready for it all over again. I had a blast with it. Again, the music was incredible.
Dumb fan service thing. Did you guys catch the Ghost reference in there?
What?
Yes.
What?
So when Han Solo comes up and he's the first gambling scene with Lando, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I've got a great ship," and Lando's like, "Yeah, my ship is awesome," and Han's like, "Oh, I've got an even better ship." The ship he was talking about, there it is. It's a VCX-100, which is the model number of the Ghost. And I elbowed Craig Hassis, one of the organizers. I'm like, "Dude, it's the Ghost." He's like, "What are you talking about?" "I'll tell you later." VCX-100. Look it up. That's the Ghost.
Oh my gosh.
That is a deep cut.
That's amazing.
I was like, oh man, that's awesome. There we go. We're going to Google.
And I guess my deep cut is, it's probably already been discussed, but seeing the idol from Raiders of the Lost Ark was like my absolute favorite. You didn't see it?
In Dryden Boss's trophy room, right in the middle of the room.
It's the first thing when they walk into the room, you see it. And all the way through that whole sequence, all I keep running through my head, throw me the idol, I throw you the whip. Over and over again, that's all I could think of.
And what was above the idol?
The crystal skull.
Crystal skull.
It was a clue to what was hiding right below it.
And what's awesome about that is like the Kasdans, Lawrence Kasdan wrote.
Exactly.
those
Yeah, it was just
films,
layers
so
of,
it's like
of
completely
fan service references. It was great.
I just did not appreciate the fact that they blew apart the crystal skull. Come on. Hasn't this movie taken a beating enough? But then what was to the left of all those trophies? There was a Mandalorian suit of armor. But it was always out of focus. It was always
Which
backlit.
also ties back to that Crimson Dawn stuff with Maul. So it was
I love that the fan service. I love that the fan service was subtle. I mean, you could have watched the movie and not known who Aura Singh was or cared, and it wasn't a big deal, or that they just threw Bosk into casual conversation.
Yes.
And yet, for the geeks, you're like, oh, that's awesome. But it was not, as we talked about earlier, it was not, oh, look, it's Ponda Baba and Dr. Evazan running through the scene,
Now, Aura Singh, just to remind myself, she's the bounty hunter that's like got a shaved head.
Shaved head,
and,
white skin,
Antenna. Menace.
You see her for about a second.
And Clone Wars. She got this antenna coming out of her head for some
Right.
reason.
Like a ponytail. Yeah, and we've seen her at Star Wars Weekends.
Yes,
okay.
that's her. She's no longer.
And she is dearly departed,
dead.
which is what we thought about Maul too.
And again, even to that point, that I feel like I love what the last couple of films have done is introduce subtly things that are from the animated series and made them legit for people that don't know it. And, we already knew that was canon. We already knew that was something special. But now everyone knows that those things are special. And maybe that'll bring them back to actually reference and look those things up. I was just having a chat with another line member who has never watched Clone Wars, never watched Rebels. And I'm like, what you saw, the things that you didn't like, the reason you didn't like it is because you didn't understand the depth there.
Right.
There was serious depth.
Right, and now what's interesting, I'm wondering if, they're connecting things from the TV series, but also right now there's a couple Maul comics out.
Yeah.
And so, so I'm wondering if that's going to connect as well.
Also in the Clone Wars, she takes Boba Fett on his first revenge attempt to kill Mace Windu.
Wow.
So they are tying these threads.
Wow.
When young Boba is, she has an arc with him, and he tries to kill Mace Windu, and it fails.
All right.
Yeah, they wouldn't have done this in the past. There is no more expanded universe. Now it's all woven into one.
Which is what they promised us when the sale happened. I mean, I was sitting in the room at Comic-Con when everyone lost their mind, where they explained that we are not killing your babies. We are actually having a unified story going forward. And when we can, we will take from the past all the best and put it in places where it works.
Right, we're expanding the expanded universe.
But no one heard that. All one heard was, you killed my babies.
Right, yeah. Now, how about goosebump moments? How many goosebump moments were there? Okay, fine, I'll talk about mine. Wait, that Kessel Run. Oh my goodness. I've never seen the Millennium Falcon the way I saw in this film here. I mean, we're talking about the Empire Strikes Back asteroid chase, the Death Star 2 attack, but seeing Han not even needing laser cannons, he's just bumping into TIE fighters, he's twisting and slapping them, and they're exploding, and just the cinematography. The way they shot the Millennium Falcon as it's going through the cloud cluster, as it's fighting the Dr. Octopus out there.
Was that a Purgle?
No, that's a whale. That's a whale.
Right, but the whales had the arms.
That was the Purgles are nice. This was mean.
Yes, maybe this
but
is
he
a
lives
cousin.
near the maw. Of course you're going to be mean.
There's too many eyes.
This is a cousin to the Purgles, which are the space whales seen in Star Wars Rebels.
Oh, okay. You know what? This is what A Wrinkle in Time. This is what Whoopi Goldberg
don't even bring that into this conversation.
Should look like is the many-eyed creature.
Now I'll need to cut that part out.
This is Kai. For me, it was when Chewie and Han first met, because there was that second when I thought, oh my gosh, it's going to be Chewie. It's not a monster. It's not a creature.
Guys, come on over and give us a little soundbite over here. Yeah, there's Ray Park and Daniel Logan. Come on
We're
over.
trying to get Ray Park to come over.
Say hello to the Skywalkers. Say hello to the Skywalkers. Ladies and gentlemen, from Attack of the Clones, here is Daniel Logan.
All I can say is my only soundbite is, you know what? We just saw Darth Maul come back. You never know who's going to be reprising their role in this galaxy. Boba. Well, guys, Boba's bounties are far from over. Yeah. Wait to see what happens with this galaxy. Love you all. Can't wait to see you. Love it. I'm skywalking through Neverland, and this is Daniel Logan, young Boba Fett from Star Wars. You better be walking with us, or the bounty will be on you.
Mr. Daniel Logan. Yeah. Hey, bring your friends over.
My big goosebump moment was actually seeing L3 become Falcon and Falcon become L3, and seeing how L3 had to bump herself in order to make things work, and then the Falcon started to have to get bumped, and it was like, oh my, it explains so much about why the Falcon is so special. So thank you.
Thank you, Ric Peralta.
Goosebump moments was just seeing the Falcon for the first time, and then seeing the Falcon washed up on the beach. I was like, oh, it's the Falcon that we all love. It's all screwed up, and
there it is.
And the hull plating's gone, and it's all it's what a piece of junk. But it was gorgeous. And then watching Lando for the first time. I mean, coming as a person of color, when you don't always see people that look even remotely like you on TV. Lando was not just the random character, but was an intergalactic badass. Yeah. And watching him on screen for the first time, like Donald Glover just needs his own series of movies because he just played that so well. It was so much fun. So that was mine.
Awesome, right. Samir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, you know what, Kai, you were saying something before Daniel Logan interrupted us. Who does he think he is?
He was interrupted by Daniel Logan. That's good. The two of them meeting together was amazing. I love hearing Han talk, in the language of them. But it's really interesting because I wonder what you guys think. Where do you think the life debt came into play? Because it seems like they became really friends. And is it that moment where he pulls him in and saves his head?
I don't think it's happened yet, honestly. Yeah. I think because they both saved each other in different moments.
That is such a huge part of Star Wars folklore that they wouldn't have skipped right over it because we're all in the audience going, oh, okay, we want to see this big moment where Han saves Chewie. But here, Han saved Chewie, Chewie saved Han. But yeah, the life that was pushed aside. So I'm hoping they don't go, yeah, you know what, Han, he devised that plan down in the dungeon so they would both escape. They would fake fight, and so the Imperials would fall down, and they would be their escape hatch. I'm hoping Chewie doesn't see that as, okay, you just saved my life, because it wasn't big enough. It wasn't a big enough moment for something we've been waiting 41 years to see.
And also, did we ever see Chewie handcuffed in this movie? I mean, we saw him like on the leg, and I guess he was chest to hand.
No, he was handcuffed with the hands as well on Kessel.
Because I'm thinking about, A New Hope, where Luke tries to put the handcuffs on Chewie. He goes, and he goes, well, maybe you should put it on. I kind of maybe would have liked a close-up or something, just something.
Which is a great callback to Wookiees always being enslaved back in this era. All right, Sarah, you know what? You haven't told us your initial thoughts and your thoughts as a whole about Solo.
Okay, so my thoughts as a whole, it definitely, I've seen it twice now and had a really, really fun time. Now, I remember coming out of The Last Jedi and I was exhausted. I mean, we were recording afterwards and I couldn't even form thoughts because it was just such a taxing movie to watch, in a good way, but it's emotionally exhausting. This one was exhilarating, overall. So it was just super fun to watch. It was like you're riding Indiana Jones for 2.5 hours, and I say Indiana Jones because that's a call out to the Kasdans, who write that. So overall, I really enjoyed it. It's really fun, and I wasn't sold on Alden Ehrenreich just because he's just not as hot as Han Solo. I mean, as Harrison Ford. I'm just going to say it. Not as hot. But my moment in this film that I really enjoyed, my goosebump moment, came from when they're on Kessel, and they're trying to leave Kessel right in front of the Falcon, and Han grabs his blaster and puts it up, and he like looks exactly like Harrison Ford, Han Solo, when he's like trying to get out of a sticky situation right by the Falcon. So it was like, and he had this jaw set in his, it was awesome.
I've been waiting for this movie for I don't know how many years since it's been when they first announced it. I've always been on board. I've always wanted to see a checklist of everything we've always heard about, like
the card game,
the Sabak match, like
how he won the Falcon.
Right, exactly. Like the Kessel run, like the life debt, him meeting Chewie, Han in the Imperial Navy. I've always wanted to see that. Some people may say, well, why do you need to see it? We already are there by the time we see Han in A New Hope. There's no point in watching how all this went down. I love prequels, and I really wanted to see how all this went down. Now, like Sarah, you were just saying how The Last Jedi was a really heavy film, and it was. It was a really, really heavy film. This film here, we're just following one point of view of a character, which makes it more of a character piece. So it's not going to be as draining as some of the other films where you're really following other stories, and you got to wonder who is whose parent and such. So I love the fact that what you see is what you get. And it was a fun roller coaster. It was an adventure. And the first time we saw this, my initial reaction afterwards is, how can I see this right now again? Because there was just so much to take in, such as all the Easter eggs, which I loved. And I was especially excited for all of the expanded universe stuff, such as Mimban, which we saw in Splinter of the Mind's Eye. And that was the very first planet. Yeah. The very first planet, Chris, where there's an Imperial attack. Right after Han and Kira are split up on Corellia, and the titles come up 3 years later, that mud planet, that is Mimban from Splinter of the Mind's Eye.
Foggy mud planet.
Yes. And
Mud troopers, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. When you saw Chewie and all that mud in his fur, it's like, that's going to take forever to comb that out.
Yeah. Oh, in the shower scene.
And then
That was amazing.
Yeah. This is Henry. I don't know. I can't remember what like Han said, but he's like, "Oh, we have to do this together" or something like that.
Yeah.
That was kind of funny.
How many screen grabs will there be when this hits DVD
yeah,
or
that's gonna be the
DVD or
new
streaming?
Meme. That's going to be the new meme.
Kai, it's funny though because I'm wondering if they wouldn't have had an Aftermath book named Life Debt, I would have assumed that Chewie just made that up because he just took this boy under his wing. He just felt this is my, because the line where he says there's a difference between people and tribe.
Tribe and family.
Tribe and family.
Yeah.
I feel like Chewie decided to be with him. And it just seemed like I kind of after watching this, I thought I wish there was no concept of a life debt because it's just they found each other. It's
right,
like,
but then you wonder why isn't Chewie back with Mala, Itchy, and Lumpy?
Right, but I don't think do you think those were the other
the Wookiees? No, on Kessel, no. Unfortunately, what we saw in the trailer when Chewie headbutts this other Wookiee, kind of gives him a little head
love tap.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. And we all thought that was going to be Mala, and I was ecstatic beyond belief.
Oh, I am so down.
Hey, Craig, want to say a little something? Yeah. Give us some initial thoughts on Solo.
I love the callbacks to stuff like Aura Singh being killed.
Okay.
You know, the callbacks to the old stuff. Old, jeez. You and I are old. That's not old. That's 99.
Who
That's
are
not
you
old.
pointing to?
That's almost 20 years ago now.
All right, you know what? We were just talking about goosebump moments. Tell us your goosebump moment.
Chewie first getting in the co-pilot seat.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Like stepping out being like, no, how do you like, change like, whatever? Yeah.
I mean, honestly, you know, that kind of stuff that's not really overt and in your face, but more of just all right, there we go, you know.
Things are coming together.
Yeah. You know, if my hype afterwards of Rogue One was like a 9 or a 10, I'd probably put this one about an 8.5, like just below it. I mean, you didn't come out of there going, but you're still like sitting there smiling going, yeah, that was good. So, other goosebump moments.
Well, even Han walking into the Millennium Falcon cockpit.
Yeah.
Everyone's like all nudging the person next to them.
Yeah.
And when he gets in that pilot seat for the first time,
It's
like,
interesting
okay.
because when you look at Han in Star Wars, she's rich, you know, and he's just about the money and the pretty face. This one, he actually seemed to want a relationship. So it'll be interesting to see how he goes from somebody that actually cares about a woman to somebody that doesn't care about anybody but himself. Because I don't think he got there just yet in this one. And it was definitely left open to more.
Right, but
So-
he did say no to joining a group of do-gooders at the
Yeah,
end.
he did.
With
He-
Memphis
he-
Nest,
he- Well, yeah, but as far as the relationship stuff goes, I mean, he's still, even through this one, he wants the money. He wants, to buy his ship and all that good stuff. So, and Donald Glover just freaking blew it out of the park. I mean, there's no way anybody could do that justice but him. But it was pretty dang good.
Now, am I the only one who thought maybe he went too far into being a caricature of Lando from The Empire Strikes Back? There was a couple of line readings where I thought it's a little caricature-ish.
There was a couple of scenes where he was almost an affected accent, it seemed like.
Yes.
Not the very first scenes we see him, but a couple scenes later it was almost like it probably was directed by different people.
Oh, that's a good point.
And
Yeah.
he just
Could you
seemed
guys tell
different.
where the 30-70 split was?
Right? I think it's
Yeah.
2080, but
There
yeah.
was a couple of shots where I thought, oh, that's got to be a Lord and Miller shot.
When they were all done in Legos, that was the clue.
It's funny because I thought I didn't want Alden to play Harrison Ford. I wanted him to play Han Solo.
Right.
And I think by the end, he got there. Yeah. I thought at the beginning there were some stuff where you could tell, okay, is it too jokey? Is it too funny? But by the end, I think it was, obviously he put to rest who shoots first, all that good stuff. So I think he did a dang good job, all in all. So I dug it.
Yeah, I thought Alden just nailed it from the first time we saw him with his sideways glances, his side smiles, and the way he shoots that blaster. I know Harrison Ford is out there giving him a big thumbs up.
There's one scene when they're escaping the mine, when he's outside the ramp of the Falcon, that literally they must have posed him just like that famous shot of Harrison.
One arm out and
that
crooked,
one arm up, that kind of
shoulder back,
lean forward a little bit, shoulder back. So that was a pretty
Jaw
iconic
set.
shot that I'm guarantee you was on purpose.
Absolutely.
But he definitely had the look down, and like I said, he nailed it pretty good.
Yeah.
So I got to get out here, Riverside. So
All right.
Thank you,
Greg.
thank you, Skywalker.
Great job, great job on this whole thing and everything you've been doing for Starlight Children's Foundation. And earlier you were saying that you guys raised what, $3,000?
Over $3,000.
Over $3,000. Great work.
Yeah, between donations and the ticket sales and everything. And thank you to Skywalking Through Neverland for all your continued support and interest and everything. So
We'll be here every time.
And anybody out there that seems to enjoy this kind of stuff that's local or not local, we've had Canada, England, UK, Australia, East Coast, West Coast, everywhere in between. You got a year and a half to save your credits. So get on out here. Have some fun. All right, guys. Thanks.
All right. Awesome. We'll see you in episode 9. Yes, sir.
All right, we need to come over here.
All right. Thank you.
See you later. All right, so you guys, Chris and Dave, your
Mine was
moments.
stolen. This is Chris, and he stole my goosebump moment when I didn't get her name. She's doing the stuff and doesn't know how to click. And Chewie just goes like, "Step aside, let me do this for you." And he sits there, and Han gives him that slightly side glance out of the corner of his eye, and partners. That was that moment where they clicked. That I thought was my favorite moment.
Now, you were around 41 years ago when Star Wars
Yeah.
first premiered, 41 years to tomorrow, which is May 25th.
Happy Star Wars Day,
everybody. Woo! Do you feel the same way about this as you did with Star Wars? I know you were kind of teetering there, but in terms of the fun.
Don't get me wrong. I didn't dislike this movie. I didn't love it, but I didn't dislike it. I liked it. It was more Indiana Jones than it was Star Wars. Mm-hmm. I liked the action. I liked the pacing. I wasn't sitting there going, how much longer is this at any moment? I thought it was well written, well done, well directed. I'm still leaning towards Luke Skywalker more than I would like to see a Luke film more than a Han film. So I wasn't disappointed in it. But I didn't love it. I didn't come out of there going, oh my God, this is the best Star Wars film ever. That was my take on it, and people are going to blast me for it, but that was me.
Do you think Han in Star Wars is as jaded as he is because of Kira?
Oh yeah.
Because you gotta realize that it may be at some time past this, he finds out who she really is. So at that point, who can you trust?
Kai here. I think the fundamental thing, I think Kira nailed him where she said he is the good guy. I mean, this film has me thinking of Star Wars, where you think the first thing Han says to Leia is, "I'm not in this for you, sister, your rebellion." And then you're like, well, I don't think she asked you. It makes me think like this poor guy, in a way, he struggles against the same thing his son struggles against later, is who he can be at his core. And I think what makes me cry sometimes is when I think about that we never are going to have Mark and Harrison on screen, because it makes me remember he didn't come back for Leia. Leia, I feel, is his soulmate. He came back for Luke. After everything that happened to him, he's like the anti-Beckett. Like when he tried to have Luke come with him and it didn't happen. And it just makes me realize he didn't have the love and support to find out who he is. And I think I never think Han was jaded. I think he was beat down. And I think Kira did really affect him, because in the novel Last Shot, there's a great scene with him and Sana Staros from the comic where he's sitting there and she's like, "What's her name?" And he's like, "Why does everyone keep asking me that? There's no her. There's no her." But I think it's more that he feels he failed Kira. I think he might think that if he would have gotten there earlier, he could have saved her. He has a strong rescue ethic. Han is never the scoundrel he thinks he is. Even in Empire, he goes after Luke. If they die, they're going to die together. And I think he just has that aspect in him that he
thinks he's a scoundrel,
and
but he's actually a nice man.
He's a good guy.
Right. He's actually a nice man.
That's proven again and again and again. You can call yourself a scoundrel, but that doesn't mean you are a scoundrel. Let's look at your past.
Right. Okay, well, I have a question on Enfys Nest and her reveal. Like, what did you guys think about that?
Yes, who is Enfys Nest again?
Yeah, I was pretty lost about it too.
Hold on, where's my cup topper?
And Enfys Nest is the
villain.
Oh, okay, yeah, it's coming back.
The other villain.
Yeah, that was a little confused. That's when I think like who directed what? Because it feels like the editing was kind of weird. Like it felt rushed. The ending. Did anybody else get that?
I was utterly lost. This is Chris here. I was literally lost at that moment when she revealed her helmet and she's like, "Oh, we're not the Marauders. We're not the Sky Raiders. We're not a rival. Wait, who are you? What's your motivation for trying to steal from out from under?" I was lost at that point, trying to catch up to what's going on at this point.
Did you guys catch the music? I think it's again. This is pure on Road Warrior. Did you check? Every time when you hear the music, it's with the Enfys Nest in them. It's all about children. I think what they really wanted to do is they wanted to show poverty and what's happening to the other part, because there's people who live in. It's kind of like what Jen Erso says. You really don't know what's going on if you don't have the strength to look up. I think they tried to really show the poor and the impoverished of the galaxy, but then they also wanted to do a movie that was fun, and I think you couldn't do both. But I feel like there's a lot of orphans out there trying to make a difference. Like they're like the millennials of Star Wars. Like they're all young. She talks about how her whole village was killed, and I'm listening to the music, the children, and every time I'm like, this is straight up Road Warrior. Like when there's all the kids living in the village. And there's no adults, and it's like kind of it's a kind of conflicted movie, because I think they really wanted to show poverty and what people have to do to stay alive. But then they also thought we needed to have fun, and then they decided to throw Darth Maul in. So it's a very, and I'm down with that. But it's a very conflicted movie, and as much as I enjoyed it, I still don't know why we needed this and what we got out of it.
I think why they had it in there was to show Han, he, like Kira said, he's the good guy. And that was like a temptation for him to be the good guy, which he said no to because he thinks he's the scoundrel. So I think that's honestly why it was there. And I'm not sure why her reveal was a big secret. Why wasn't she on the press junket, anything like that?
I think Lucasfilm wants to keep secrets because that's the only way they know how to communicate these days. Yeah. And everything's a secret.
Can I just say, I did like the Warwick Davis cameo.
Yeah.
That was, like, he looked exactly like he did in Willow. So is Willow connected? Is Willow, or is it like we talk about, is Star Wars or Indiana Jones, is Star Wars and Willow connected now?
Well, that character is Weasel, who we saw in Phantom Menace.
Oh.
Is it the same character?
Same character, yes. Yeah, so it's a continuation.
In the credits? Was it Weasel?
I thought it was Willow because Ron Howard directed this movie, so it came full.
Maybe Weasel and Willow are cousins of some sort, but I didn't see it in the credits because we were all looking behind us at Ray Park, who was sitting right behind us, and
right?
we didn't know until the very end, so I didn't see that. But I heard it on many different sites, and was it on the? No, it wasn't on the press tour. It was somewhere else official.
Okay.
So
wow.
That to me tells me, great, they're tying in all these characters.
It was probably a Pablo Hidalgo tweet.
Could have been a tweet. There's been so much, it's such an influx of solo information, you forget where you heard what.
Right.
Yeah, for Enfys Nest, I thought she was going to be more of a villain than she was, and why have it be such a big reveal? Hey, bye-bye. Oh, everyone's wrapping up now.
Bye, everyone. Woo!
We're now at the
See you next line.
TCL Chinese Theatre Max Edwards and Whittier or Hollywood. We're somewhere, and the place is like closing down, but still, we're recording.
Of course.
Hold
This is
on.
what
I
we
see a
do.
sign. TCL Chinese 6 Theaters, box office. No, that's not the name
That's
of
the
it.
box office, not the theater.
All right,
It's
all
okay.
right. Yeah.
So question. What about the opposite of goosebump moments? Those moments where you're like,
Darth Maul.
well, crap. Should we talk about Darth Maul then?
Justin, how do you really feel?
What the heck? What the heck?
Hey, tone the language down. This is a family show.
I did. I'm toning it down as best I could. What?
I just
Didn't
can't
make
get
any
over the
sense.
fact that Darth Maul was in our
Yeah,
freaking
right behind
theater.
us. And you know what, Sarah, since we've seen the film a couple of weeks ago,
Yes.
it was fun watching everyone's
Yes.
reaction.
Oh my gosh, we
Yeah.
were like clutching our hands
Yeah.
like, okay,
Kai, your
ready?
eyes popped out of your head like a Warner Brother cartoon. Kai? Take a page out of Justin's book, okay? Watch your language.
Yeah.
she said ship.
Oh,
ship.
okay.
Ship.
Yeah. Now, Henry, I want to ask you. Then, Justin, we'll come back to you. Now, since you haven't seen Clone Wars or Rebels, did that make sense to you?
Yeah. So I've kind of spoiled myself in both Rebels and unfortunately this movie. So for Rebels, I knew that what's it called, that Vader and his old Padawan fought, and so I kind of I went down the rabbit hole with that, with spoilers.
Vader or
Ahsoka.
Ahsoka.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah. Everybody was saying, oh yeah, I think it's the season 2 finale.
Yeah.
Like where they battle. I'm like, oh, I gotta go check this out. And that's a beautiful piece of of cartooning. Yeah, it's amazing. And then, but then someone else mentioned Darth Maul. I'm like, okay, how many Darths can there be in Rebels? So I kind of spoiled myself. Unfortunately, about a couple days ago, one of my friends who's a total a red saber for spoilers was like, oh, do you want to know some information? And I'm like, I can't say no right now. He's like, Darth Maul. I'm like, no way. He's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have asked you.
Did you think he was joking? Maybe how people always joke of oh, spoiler alert, Jar Jar dies. People do that all the time.
No, no.
Spoiler alert.
It's my buddy. It's my buddy Nick. He's a big guy. He's very serious about everything. So yeah,
I would have thought he was like, he's just joking.
Now,
He's
had you not
kidding.
heard that and you saw Darth Maul, what would you be thinking?
I'd be like, oh my god, that is crazy, but that totally makes sense. But there's a dark, evil person running these criminal
So
syndicates.
conceptually,
Yeah.
you would get it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's what's really important.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad to hear you say that. So, Justin, you had some comments.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've seen a little bit of Star Wars Rebels. I was at the press event for the first 2 episodes of season 2. I haven't seen every single episode, but I did know that Darth Maul is comes back. He's part of that show, that he's back from the graves, in Clone Wars, etc. So, I mean, I guess the weird thing is that that's all canon now, that's really official. Like, generally, like before, it's like, well, you don't have to have seen any of the movies to enjoy the cartoon show. It's just Star Wars Rebels. It's its own thing. The movies, they're their own thing. So now they're all official. Like, they're now part of the movies. Like, and also, I just don't get the timing. Like, I mean, someone explained, like, how far back is this movie? How old is Han Solo in this? Exactly. Do we know?
Supposed to be about 25-ish, I would say.
I mean, is he
Early
exactly
20s,
as
20.
old as the actor is, Alden? And
I don't know
and
about
if so,
that.
how old was he in A New Hope? Is he 40?
This is supposed to be 10 years before A New Hope. In A New Hope, he's about 35-ish.
About 35,
Like Harrison Ford is 34, was like 33, 34 when he filmed it, but was he exactly the same age? I mean, these are actors, like...
Okay.
Yeah,
Alden
so
is 28.
within a few years, and that's why I think they threw that line in there about how old are you? 190.
Right.
You look great. Just to place it in the timeline.
Because Chewie's supposed to be 200 at the
Right.
time of A New Hope.
Yeah. All right. Here's a moment for me. Clint Howard.
Well, yeah, Warwick Davis and Cliff.
Warwick Davis is okay, but when he popped out, I'm like, whoa, oh, really? Really? It just pulled me right out of the movie at that.
He's in every one of Ron Howard's
He is, and that's what pulled me out of the movie at that point.
That pulled you out of it?
It did. I was like, oh, it's Ron Howard's brother.
Well,
that's what I was thinking. Not new character.
Because it's Ron Howard, and every Ron Howard film has to have his brother. And
Plus, he tweeted it out too.
Yeah. Well, it was if you. I like hang out at IMDb for like that's like my second home. So yeah, I knew he was going to be in it.
For me, it would be the big buildup of, gee, the Millennium Falcon has this whole new front end. What's up with that? That's got to be a big deal. And then it's like, oh, it's an escape pod. And then, oh, we're going to launch it into the black hole and get rid of the monster. And it was like kind of a big deal, but I was expecting more from that. It was such a big change in the Millennium Falcon, and it wound up being just kind of a...
Well, how about when the Millennium Falcon lost its radar dish? Again.
That was fun.
I did not understand the whole put down the landing gear, scrape across the asteroid.
Oh, yeah, me either.
I think that was just to kick up dust. I think the TIE Fighter's
and also
view screen. It worked.
Well, it worked, but...
They could have gotten there other ways, but I think because it was kicking up all that debris, it shot right back to the TIE Fighter.
It was also to show Han's pilot skills.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It could have been done. I think it could have been done. That could have been done differently to achieve the same effect.
Now, Anthony Daniels is also in Solo.
What? Really?
He plays a character named Tack.
And there's a $200 bounty on the first person who can find that character.
Exactly. And
Anthony Daniels wasn't going to allow for a Star Wars movie to exist without him.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
C-3PO is not going to be in it. Well, he has to be in it somehow.
Yeah, and our buddy Details, who plays the chief of security on Kessel, I asked him, where is he? Where is he? He's like, I've got no idea. No idea. And I looked it up online, can't find it anywhere.
He wasn't a droid, though, right?
I don't know who Tack is. I'm sure. I don't know. It's a good question. Yeah. If they try to put Anthony Daniels inside of a droid outfit, would he say, guys, seriously? Come on.
Yeah.
Talk about typecasting.
Yeah. Okay, so I got a little cameo in Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. Just let me continue that cameo streak being unmasked.
Yeah. Now, one thing that's interesting is Thandie Newton at the press conference mentioned that her son was on set. He was 3 years old and wandered over to R2-D2. R2-D2 wasn't in this movie. So I'm wondering if she actually...
But
well, I don't think she got the name.
There were R2 units on Corellia at the Imperial Outpost, and there was a white, blue, and silver R2 unit.
On a Kessel,
Yes.
Yeah.
No, not on Kessel, but in Corellia, when Han and Kira are trying to escape, there's a couple of shots where you clearly see a blue astromech R2-D2.
Hi. There's even a model droid from the same model, the Death Star droid, the black one, but he also looks like AP from Rebels.
Right.
And I was like, please do the voice, please do the voice.
Okay.
So I think what
That's good to know.
Thandie Newton was, what she meant is her son saw an R2 looking droid.
Right. That had a droid builder person because she said they beeped at him, like the person in charge.
Yeah, and they did have those
very R2D2 looking droids. I'm sure they had some from Last Jedi just sitting there. So yeah, just throw those in the scene. No one will see them.
Absolutely. Well, now I'll be looking for him at our next
Yeah,
viewing.
if you look over to the left when they have that long shot,
Okay.
you'll see him.
I got a question that we haven't really talked about is the decision for the
L337.
L3, yes, to have a female droids rights and
No, she's got an agenda.
rebel.
She's got an agenda.
That was awesome.
But we haven't seen anything even
No.
remotely like that in the
And
droid
that's
world.
why I think we needed that. Like, we had to have something like that. And also, I think it's a great commentary on this movie coming out in 2018 and all the stuff that's happening. So, I mean, one of my favorite lines in the movie is when Lando walks out of the cockpit and asks L3, "Oh, can I get you anything else?" And she goes, "Equal rights."
And I think that was improv. I think in
It
your
was.
press conference,
It was improv, and I
That's
did
where everyone
ask.
That was Sarah who asked that question.
Yeah.
It was
I asked
very-
Phoebe, is like, was that your line or was that improv?
And in the last shot novel, that you get more about that.
Yes.
About someone who has a device that activates droids in a different way.
Right. And L3, yeah, you really get to know. So I recommend, Dave, that you actually read Last Shot, because the best thing about that novel, it's a fun book. I wasn't quite drawn in as much, but the best thing about it is Lando and L3, their relationship, and just L3 in general.
Right.
Like, it introduces her character in a really good way, and you really understand why she is the way she is in Solo.
Interesting.
And I think even though it might, in my opinion, it might have been a little too early through Force Awakens, I think we are now entering the territory where Star Wars films don't have to have a big important message or continuity. They're just going to be fun. They're just not, we have to maybe let go of our ability to overthink.
It's definitely a timestamp.
Yes.
On 2018. So when we see this in 41 years, like, oh,
Exactly.
remember those days? And it's always, with these droids, there's always a fear of, oh, will this droid become too much like C-3PO?
Right.
And K2SO broke that mold. And now what can this droid do that K2 and 3PO haven't done? It's like, oh, this is perfect.
Apparently she can be with Lando. Yes. Not sure
Yeah,
what
what was
that
up with
means.
that?
Yeah, there were some references there that would fly.
it works.
That should fly over the heads of kids under the age of 18, let's say. Yeah. Does anyone want to touch on that?
I just thought that was a funny line.
Justin?
I mean, have you seen like the headlines where I guess Donald Glover is like what's said about Lando Calrissian? Have you been following that at all?
He's pansexual.
So I guess that was the moment because like, so does like it's hard to know like what was it just like a joke, like, oh, it's just a joke, or like if it's really serious. Like, so is with Donald, like, is Lando really in love with the robot, or is the robot?
I think when he got some of those lonely nights in
Well,
hyperspace.
because remember, he doesn't even acknowledge C-3PO as a person in Empire Strikes Back. Remember when, like, he's just distracted by Leia, like,
Well,
what
yeah, but
have we here? And
it
then
could be.
C-3PO is like, hey, I'm C-3PO, and he's just like, yeah.
Well, you look
yeah,
at
yeah.
Leia and look at 3PO.
Yeah, so
not much of a war there.
yeah, but so the point is, I don't think he's attracted to machines, right?
I don't know. Think about Lobot. He had that same ring around the top of his head. I don't know.
I think it's more about, to me, it seemed like she was projecting a little, like it was kind of girl talking. Like, as a girl, we have all had girlfriends who tried to sit down and tell us that this guy was in love with him, and we're like, yeah, sweetie, I could totally see that. But I think Lando's like not coming from that place. The only problem I had with that was I feel like it's not that there isn't sexuality in Star Wars, but I feel, and I give John Kasdan a lot of credit, he realized he really addressed the blowback against that in a really way. But I feel like it's just not something that we have to be careful with, just attaching labels on someone because it's convenient.
Right.
And I'm all about show me. Like, as I've gotten older in fandom, I'm like, don't tack on, just show me. If Lando's pansexual, then show me. Like, if, just show me he can be in a bed with a guy, or he can have whatever. But also, too, one thing about pansexuality, because I actually asked someone in a fan group, because, if you're just straight hetero, you kind of have natural ignorance about things. But pansexuality, I feel it does fit Lando, And the fact that it has to do, I asked a woman in my group to explain it to me, and she said it has to do with if you're attracted to someone, it's not based on anything that's physical to them. Like it's a deeper level. It's not just like about man, women, this. And I think that's why people were upset, because they were like, oh, but he's a ladies' man. But as she was explaining, you can be pansexual and not act on it.
Okay.
So there's just like there's people who are bisexual and have never had a relationship with a woman, but in their heart they know who they are. One of my best friends, she was married to a man. She's happily married to her husband, but she does not. It irks her when people try to tell her who she is and how she identifies, because she says, I can stay faithful to my husband for my entire life, and that doesn't mean I'm not a bisexual. So I think it does fit, but unfortunately it became a soundbite and it was handled in the wrong way, where I feel like after this, if the story would have came out after seeing this movie, I said, oh yeah, I could have buy that. That was pretty cool. That was pretty cool writing.
Okay.
Do you think maybe Lando and Therm Scissor Punch ever had a thing going?
I think Lando will be with whoever he wants to be with, and also too, I think again sorry to talk about and maybe spoil the novel. This is why things irk me, because like to put this label on him, but in Last Shot, both of these books, we see Han and Lando in different ages, and they're all dealing with their fundamental things. For Lando, it's about opening himself up to a relationship, and the person he ultimately finds himself with and he cares about is a female Twi'lek. So I feel like, to me, it's more like, why are we even having this discussion? Because you're not putting it in the page, you're not showing me. So I feel like it was a wasted, and there's nothing that can happen with L3 now anyway. So that's why I kind of feel like, don't just say, and the way it all happened, John Canson was like, yeah, I guess you could say that.
Right.
So.
Well, I think if they showed anything in the film, that would have been way too much for people to handle.
Well, he rushes to like save the.
Oh yeah.
He's clearly more attached than just, oh no, I'm losing a navigational system. I'm losing a really good GPS. I'm never gonna get another $100.
My Waze.
Ever lose your cell phone? It's like, how will I get from A to B if I don't have my Waze?
I actually felt worse that Lando lost the Millennium Falcon once you knew his connection to L3, and now that L3 is part of the Millennium Falcon, now it was like, oh, this is not just a ship anymore. This is his love that he's lost.
Right.
Exactly.
The character in a character.
And it kind of redeems, like, when you see him, like, in Return of the Jedi, like, with the ship and, like, blowing up the second Death Star and being, like, obviously the big reunion, which is pretty rad. It kind of, like, adds more depth to that story.
I could see that.
Yeah, if there was ever a special edition on the special edition now, there would be a shot of of Lando looking back at that little port where L337 is now, kind of with a, oh yeah,
L3. L3 is their thing. Like, does that mean that the Millennium Falcon can talk at some point? Like, have it be a character?
Talks to the droids, like R2.
Yeah, because like in an Empire, it's like, oh, hey, I need you to talk to the to the Navicomputer or whatever, the hyperdrive. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, okay. So I have a question. Maybe we can do a round table. Does anyone have a favorite character coming out of this? And maybe we should almost take Han out of the mix.
Oh, darn it!
I know.
Blast the original trilogy characters in general, so no Han or Lando or Chewie.
Oh,
what was the? So I'll start, Chris.
Okay.
What was the four-armed creature's name?
Oh, Rio Durant.
Yes, Rio
he
Durant.
was awesome.
J.J. Abrams had his passion with
Beastie Boys.
And now I want to know whose passion for Duran Duran led to Rio Durant.
Oh,
I get it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I get it.
Ron Howard, maybe?
Yeah. We asked on Twitter, but they didn't answer. It's like, oh, come on, someone's going to be a Duran Duran fan.
I thought that character had depth, humor, funny, the expressions, body, everything about that was real.
I have to say my favorite, I think it had to be Val, of course. And I think she's kind of perfect. I'm really tired of people saying that to put diversity in is a social agenda. It's not a social agenda, but they just hit so many high notes with her, like her being herself, her being rude to Han and then immediately softening to him, her being in a relationship with Beckett, and I love the fact that it seemed like she used her natural accent. So we now have more British, we have different British girls now, which is very important. And I just think it's funny because compared to Last Jedi, where I was fuming about Paige, like I was literally vibrating. I almost got up and walked out because I feel like it was just kind of like, you can have more than two diverse people in a film and the film doesn't have to implode. It doesn't make it I was not upset about Val at all because she had her moment. She had agency. She had a plan. Would I have liked to see her through the whole movie or other movies? Sure. But I feel like she was handled really perfectly. And I really wish Lucasfilm would have stood behind her more. I really wish we have with these movies a tradition of low grade characters. I mean, let's admit it. I love Boba Fett, but Boba Fett is like a throwaway character who became this elevation. You never really see his face, nothing. You don't even know. Yeah. And I feel like I don't understand as a company why someone didn't think somewhere, let's elevate this. And I will always have respect for Thandi for choosing to elevate herself because that's what people of color do. We find things that we love and we make it our own. And I just think everything about her was perfect. How she spoke for Val. Lucasfilm, in my opinion, did not speak for her and didn't support her. And I'm just so glad that they did, at least whoever is responsible for her gave her a perfect story arc, and I'm glad that Thandi spoke for her and gave her voice.
Yeah, you can always appreciate those characters who sacrifice themselves for the greater good of their friends or their mission.
Yeah.
Okay, with that,
Right,
I think
thank
Kai's
you,
going
Kai.
to leave.
See ya, Kai.
Bye, Kai.
It's a great
appreciate-
outro, so thank you very much.
Yes.
So I've got mine.
Okay.
I felt that most of the characters that we were introduced to served the greater purpose of spotlighting the main characters. But the one character that we got to really get to know for the first time is Chewbacca. And so he's going to be my call because even though we all love Chewbacca, he's always been an accent character. And here we actually got to know Chewbacca
the
himself.
sidekick.
Yeah.
So did you have any more to say, Chris, about Rio Durant?
Just that I love the character. I thought he was a really well done character, and I agree with Dave. Chewie, for the first time, we get to really meet Chewie, not just as what'd you say? Oh, yes. Okay, thank you. I'll go do that. He really had depth to him for a change.
Just a very random question. Jon Favreau is in this.
Yes.
Who he play?
He's Rio Durant.
Rio Durant.
Okay, yeah, that's why. Okay, then yeah, he was my favorite character. So, yeah. I don't know. Like I thought, Jon Favreau must have voiced him.
Yes.
He's pretty cool. He was cool.
I'm going to say Enfy's Nest for me.
Okay.
Just because we got that box of toys from Hasbro, and that was the first figure we had unboxed and done a video.
And it spoke to you.
Yes, it really, and I love the costume. And the fact that Han and Tobias thought that they just labeled her as a marauder, as thieves. Maybe that's the general look or outlook on her gang, but like, hey, we have an agenda. We have an idea of what we're doing. You may call us marauders, but we're not. We're doing this for a reason. So I liked her backstory. I just wish they had mentioned more about the Cloud Riders and her gang. Her gang was the Cloud Riders.
There was one line in there that mentioned the Cloud Riders.
Yes, which we saw from classic Marvel Star Wars comics. And they were going on to, when she revealed herself, took the helmet off and said, back in on these planets here with these Dryden Voss's.
Oh yeah, Black Sun.
The Black Sun.
Is that what this?
No.
Crimson Dawn.
Yeah, Crimson Dawn.
Black
Yeah, they would come and just rob planets of their resources, and that was almost going to go onto the plot line of Aduba 3 from these classic Marvel Star Wars comics. It's like, but then they mentioned about cutting off their tongues, which they didn't do in the Marvel comics. They would just take all the resources from Aduba or any other planet and take the women, and off they went. So I wish that tied in a little bit more toward that. But I like the fact that she was a very sympathetic character. And you guys may call us what you want, but we know we got to save these people.
Yeah.
So she's my pick.
Nice. Henry, did you have a pick?
I loved Woody Harrelson's character.
Yeah.
Tobias Beckett. Like he was, obviously who Han Solo kind of wants to be, but even though ends up not being like from all the from the movies we've already seen. You know, like Han Solo becomes General Solo and like becomes a big hero and like but like Beckett was just a real scoundrel. Like he gets upset like when like what's her name dies, like sacrifices herself. Val sacrifices herself, but like he's all about himself. He's double crossing. He's just being a survivor. And I thought that was cool.
What I liked about Beckett, which I thought was really interesting, is Beckett was Han Solo's mentor character.
Yeah.
So what you saw was his scoundrelness in affecting Han, but then Han, being a good guy, kind of took the lessons, and you see his character develop with those lessons, but without the self-centered. But he's really a good guy underneath it, which I thought was really kind of a fun way to have him. To see Han's mentor like that.
Yeah.
In the very end, when Dryden Voss, Paul Bettany, said that someone had double-crossed you, did we think it was going to be Becca? Because I thought it was going to be Kira.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be Kira.
I knew
Either of them.
it would be Beckett.
Okay, I was looking for either of them.
It was foreshadowed in the trailer, so I should have known better.
Yeah. No, I kind of had a feeling it might be Tobias just because of that line he says to Han.
Yeah.
Which is in the trailer, and you clearly,
Yeah, I was very worried about Woody Harrelson being in this because he just came off of Hunger Games and Planet of the Apes, and he's like franchise hopping. And are we going to remember him from those other films? But no,
he's an esteemed actor. I mean, he got nominated for an Oscar just this year. So,
and plus, he's going to be in Zombieland 2 soon. Yeah, it's going to be rad.
Yeah, see, way too many franchises. So I thought, a little too much. But he really sunk into that.
Yeah, I think he's also the type of a character actor. I don't even know if he's a character actor, but he's an actor who can jump. If anybody can jump franchises, it's Woody Harrelson.
And he did it perfectly.
All right. Well, my favorite character, I would have to say, is L3. Because she was just funny in everything she did, especially when they're on Kessel and she's starting the rebellion of droids.
Yeah.
She's like took off the restraining bolt and she's like,
Well,
I don't know, just get out of here. Maybe
go free your brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, but L3 really made it a point to say, now go free everybody else. Here, take off the restraining bolts and free yourself.
And then she's like, I found my purpose. Rebellion.
But then, like the robots, like all the droids start freeing themselves, but like they leave the Wookiees behind, and it's like Chewie has to go out and save the Wookiees.
Well, they were in a cave, so they weren't really out in front and center. Chewie, when they were running down this corridor, he really had to crane his neck, like, "Hey, what's going on in there? Hey, are they beating up on these Wookiees?" So they weren't really out where everyone could see them.
Gotcha.
I was surprised that Han didn't join Chewie to help him defend his brethren. I mean, he said, "Hey, here's a weapon."
Well, they've still just met essentially, so they're not even like we mentioned earlier, the life bond,
life debt.
The life debt. We haven't even. Really
but at that
seen
point in the
yet.
movie, they were kind of already had a relationship.
Well, remember, Tobias said, "Don't go off the path. You must get this done."
I understand that, but I thought it would have been an interesting choice if they would have actually had Han go off the path to help Chewie. To kind of further the relationship.
And that would have been a good way for the life debt to come into play.
That's what I thought they were going to go with that.
So if I give a stick to some Wookiee and say, go free them, do I get my own life-debted Wookiee that will...
Apparently you do.
Kashyyyk,
That will tear people's arms out of their sockets, which we saw.
That was a great callback. That was like on the elevator. That was rad.
And Justin, that was what I was leading you into the other day.
Yeah.
But that was great.
We just saw him holding the arms, though. We didn't really.
We heard it
too. We didn't really see him actually pull off.
Yeah. Well,
I wish that scene in The Force Awakens stayed in. That's like the funniest scene in the whole movie, and it wasn't in the movie.
That would have elevated it to an R rating.
Yeah.
It should have still been in the movie.
But I love how Han was like, "Oh, that uniform would have fit me perfectly."
Sorry. No. Are we ready for an R Star Wars?
Yes. I think we are.
Yeah, just for violence. Yeah.
I think
what, a bounty hunter thing or something? I don't know.
Probably re-edit episode 3 for an R rating. I don't know.
I'd see it. That's all.
I don't know
I'll
about
say.
a movie, but like a TV series.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the things that I thought of, which is kind of alluding to what you said that we haven't really talked about, was the scene when Han was part of the Empire and was doing battle. it was like Saving Private Ryan, but in the Star Wars
Yeah,
universe.
that's what I thought. Yeah, it was
And-
pretty gritty.
And exactly, and so I could see a full length feature that was gritty like that. That could be an
That's what I
interesting-
thought Rogue One was going to be more like, actually.
Right.
Like more than the beach scenes.
And supposedly the Lord and Miller version was supposed to be very, very gritty and warlike.
I don't like it. I don't want that.
Yeah, that's not really the stories I've heard from the past when Alden said, "What is going on?" to Kathleen Kennedy. They're directing this like a Jim Carrey movie. Someone please help. But now
Nice.
stories are coming out that they want to be more gritty. I just don't see them as that kind of filmmakers. Having seen something like 21 Jump Street, which I wanted to jump out of that theater.
I just want to know when the Blu-ray comes out what the bonus features are going to be like. Are they just going to sweep it all under the rug, or will they actually tell us like who directed who? Like this
yeah.
was Ron Howard, and like because I'm sure
Maybe
they're going to leave a lot cut out. Like they're going to try to make this complications happen, but Ron Howard came and saved the day.
Maybe in about 20 years we'll hear those stories.
Like Rogue One, where they reshot the entire ending, and you can still see pieces of it in the trailer. And I would love to know what the original ending was.
Yeah.
What the details were, not just. I would love to see that, even in a little mini release DVD by itself. That would be cool.
Oh, you can read all about the ending of Rogue One, the original cut.
I've read what people have assumed and guessed, but I haven't actually seen an official.
It's more dragged out, where they got to go here and do this. They've got to run across the beach and then deliver this to there, and so the version we get is more streamlined. Yes,
There's something
condensed.
more solid about a documentary, though, because the thing about, especially with social media and the internet, like it's hard to know what you're reading is true or not.
If it's going to be a Lucasfilm approved documentary, we're never going to hear the real story. But if it's someone who had some kind of a part in this and not associated with Lucasfilm, I think they'll be able to speak more freely.
Yeah. Maybe in 50 years we'll get a movie about it. A movie.
So a quick point question, whatever you want to call it. Star Wars, my Star Wars, the one from 77. Han pulls this good blaster under the table, blows Greedo away. Yes. He shoots first, period. Not even shoots first. He's the only one who shoots. That's my Star Wars. Then Lucas said, well, that's a little bit too much for the kids. Let's tone Han down a bit. So Greedo shoots, misses from a foot away. So now we go back to this, and Tobias is giving his monologue, and then pow! So now we're back to that original Han. So has Lucasfilm taken a step back and gone,
The Kasdans have.
Well, that was George. That was all George's idea. So, and he's not involved with this.
No, but I mean, did the company as go, you know what, let's put a little more grit back in Han?
I think so.
Will we
Not the
get the
company-
originals on Blu-ray?
What's
Ever?
that?
Will we get the originals? On
Well, we do have, well, not on Blu-ray, but on DVD.
on Blu-ray.
So the company didn't necessarily say it, but the Kasdans did. And there was an article that came out today on StarWars.com. That's like, it's an interview with John and Lawrence Kasdan. And there's actually a screenshot of it, of what they say about that. I know. I have to find it.
Okay. You go ahead and find it. Meanwhile, I'll ask Chris, so what did you see in this that you're going to be origamiing?
A couple of things. That ship that they were using for the train, the crib, there was the cards, the Sabak cards. I've got to do those. I was just looking at the top of L3's head. There's this really beautiful triangular design that I think I can work that one out. Probably L3 herself. I've already done the escape pod and attached that to my original Falcon, so that's going to be in there in the future. And you brought up one that I have to see if I can work out. It's Han's D7 blaster.
Oh, the DL-44?
Yeah, that's it. Sorry.
Oh,
D7.
yeah. Good deal.
I think we're getting waved out of here.
Are they closing up shop? Well, you know what then? Maybe that's a good time to wrap this up. So, Sarah, you keep on looking for that article, and we'll go around and say where we can find each other on social media.
Here it is.
Oh, wait, what?
But hold on,
the
this
first
just
thing.
in.
So this just in. So Dan Brooks had interviewed Lawrence and Jonathan Kasdan. My first question is, did Han shoot first? Lawrence Kasdan. Of course. Jonathan Kasdan. We're not allowed to say, are we? And then the world needs to hear your opinion on this. Jonathan Kasdan said, that's between George and his God, isn't it? And then Lawrence says, let's see. It's so clear to me that Han shot first, and the only way you could interpret it differently is if you go back to the revised movie. In the original movie, it's very clear. Jonathan Kasdan. And in the true galaxy, I think there is no doubt that he shot first. So there you go. The writers of the Star Wars film.
Well, but then again, George Lucas,
I know.
the creator, says otherwise.
I know.
So you know what? It's all up to your interpretation. How's that? But you know what? Before we tell everyone where we can see each other on social media, did you catch George Lucas's involvement in this?
No.
In the first scene that Ron Howard directed was Kira and Han in the cape room. When Kira is trying on Lando's capes, and she and Han are talking, and she gives Han back the cape to hang up. Originally, Ron Howard had Han put it in the coat hanger and put it back up, but Lucas said, "No, that's not Han. Han would have just thrown it on the floor," and that's what he did.
Yeah.
He almost did one of these things where he's like, he's going to hang it up, but just lets it drop.
Yeah,
that's so much of a Han thing to do.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
Didn't know that either.
There's a Lucasism. All right, so with that, Chris, where can we find you on social media?
What social media?
That thing you avoid.
I do. I don't do Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or any of the other stuff. And my website is sadly out of date. I should be getting that up to date sometime soon. I'm going to start putting a YouTube channel for the models that didn't make it into my book, so you could be able to download like the Y-Wing and a few other of my favorites.
All right, good deal.
Excellent.
Dave Skale.
You can send postcards to me. I'm on Facebook. I've got my website, davidskale.com. That's Skale with a K. And theoretically, I'm on Twitter, and I've used it twice.
You're Dave the Magic Man.
Is that what I
And
am?
I think I know your Twitter handle account more than you do because I set it up for you.
You do, and that. So apparently, I'm Dave the Magic Man. And if you sign up for that, you'll get an annual tweet.
Okay. Justin Smith.
JJ Smith 910, Instagram, Twitter, if you're interested in Disneyland pictures or just randomness. I mean, that's me. If you want to be friends on Facebook and cats. If you want to be my friend on Facebook, Justin J. Smith, that's me.
Okay. Henry.
My Twitter, not Twitter, but Instagram handle is Hendo, HENDO _924. Can I give a quick little
phone
story?
Number?
No, not phone number, but story about the Hendo.
Sure.
So, I have a friend of mine. Unfortunately, he's been passed about 12 years. His name was Mark Watson. Him and I were big Star Wars fans. We met and worked on the ambulance together. We were both EMTs, and he asked me like, who's my favorite Star Wars character? I'm like, oh, Lando, man. And he's like, okay, so he took Henry and Lando and came up with Hendo.
Aww.
Yeah,
very nice.
That's cool.
So shout out to him.
Awesome.
Sarah, where can they find us on social media?
Oh, well, you can find us. We are at Skywalking Pod on Twitter and Instagram, and I am at Jedi Tink. Richard, you are at Sith Rich.
Yes.
And
tweet just a little bit more than Dave over here.
yeah. But no, you do.
I'm a little offended by that.
All right, so for our parting thoughts, give one word about Solo. You're gonna sum it up in one word, Chris.
Come back to me on that one.
Oh my goodness.
One word?
One word.
How about up to 3 words?
Yeah, let's go with up to 3 because the best I can come up with was acceptable, which isn't good enough. It was, I liked it.
That's a rousing endorsement. Dave Skale, 1 to 3 words.
Roller coaster ride.
Okay, Justin.
Han said he had a good feeling about this, so good.
All right, Henry.
Loved it. Can't wait to see it again.
Sarah?
More than 3 words.
Rad.
That's okay. I'm going to go with, I want to see the Falcon in different movies now.
Okay, I'm going to go to the purest level of fun. That's what this movie is fun. There you go. Fun all around.
Fun.
All right. So let's just now end it with a Neverland on Alderaan. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Neverland on
Alderaan.
Neverland on Alderaan.
Well, that wraps up our special solo breakdown episode 213 of
Skywalking through Neverland and Corellia.
We'd like to thank Kai Charles, Chris Alexander, Dave Skale, Henry Leinen, Ric Peralta, Craig Hassis, Samir Bakhda, Justin Smith, Daniel Logan, and liningup.net for all the incredible work they do for the Starlight Children's Foundation and for all of us fans.
And of course, to all you Skywalkers for listening every single week and tweeting to us and emailing us and all the correspondence. We really appreciate that.
Yes. Now, Skywalkers, you can head over to our YouTube channel where we have the press conference up of Solo, A Star Wars Story. So now that you've seen the film, you can safely watch that and listen when I ask a question of the Kasdans and Phoebe Waller-Bridge about her fun line in the film. All right, you can head over there, youtube.com/skywalking through Neverland. You can also help support us. If you go to the Support Us tab on skywalkingthroughneverland.com, we have links to Pozu shoes, our T Public shop, and now Oppo suits. So clicking through these links to buy anything from those sites really helps us out.
Now you can also help us out by going over there to retrozap.com, where you can find great articles and awesome shows like Brews and Blasters,
the Animaniacast,
the Deucecast movie show,
Techno Retro Dads,
and Talking Apes.
You can also find Skywalking Through Neverland at jedinews.co.uk and fanthatracks.com.
And please reach out to us and let us know your thoughts on our initial reactions. We'd love to hear it, because there's some things we had left out, which we'll talk about next week.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to spill everything all at one time, and there's so much going on.
Oh, yeah. Next week will be a part 2 of Solo, where we're going to actually go over some of the things from the press conference. And now that we've had time to, take in the film a little more, we have more thoughts on it and just the news of the day and everything.
And
so
maybe develop on this new Rebel cell we just saw.
Ooh.
With Enfy's Nest.
Indeed, yeah.
And another couple of Easter eggs, including where we may have seen Anthony Daniels.
Whoa,
His
okay.
big part revealed.
Wow. All right, I'm excited to talk about this. Well, in the meantime, just send us your thoughts. We are at Skywalking Pod on Twitter and Instagram. You can also head to our Facebook group and get to know and talk with other Skywalkers of the show, and you can search Facebook for Skywalking Through Neverland group. You can click on the request to join and answer the questions that pop up.
And of course, we want to please encourage you to go over there to Apple Podcasts and Stitcher and give us a review. I'm not going to tell you how many stars or even what to say. We want to hear your honest feelings.
Now, stay tuned for bloopers and other fun conversations that may not have gone into this episode right after the credits.
All right, now with that, we'll see you next time for our part 2 of Solo, the Star Wars Breakdown. And always remember...
Neverland on Alderaan.
Some imagination, huh?
To our Skywalkers and Tweetwalkers, thanks for listening. Skywalking Through Neverland is created and produced by Richard and Sarah Woloski. Original music by Rob Dellinger. Creative consultant Mark Augushowitz. Technical advisor Peter Heitman. Facebook administrators Donald Wicks, Joey Pittman, and Norma Heitman.
Skywalking Through Neverland is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Any sounds, music, and clips played during this podcast are the property of their copyright holders. All original content is property of Skywalking Through Neverland, all rights reserved. Sorry, had to be said. This is what you get.
Is being recorded.
When you want me to do a sound test, I get into my, what does Samir say, my game show voice?
Yep.
I like that. I like having a game show voice.
Laura's in love with your voice.
Brian Sims, where are you?
Yeah, Brian Sims, we're looking for you.
He's tweeting from the line, but he's not at the line? What is this?
Maybe there's more than one Brian Sims. Would the real Brian Sims please stand up?
He's got his own doppelganger, huh?
Attack of the Brian Sims clones. All right, there we go.
The bearded one isn't, right?
Yeah, exactly. One lives in San Diego, other was, we don't know where they live.
Homeless in Hollywood.
Yeah, exactly. Nice. Well, thank you.
That wraps up episode 213 of...
Let's say our special solo.
That wraps up our special solo breakdown episode 213 of Skywalking Through Neverland.
Skywalking Through Neverland.
And liningup.net for all the incredible work they do for the Star Wars.
Why is that so hard? I stumble on that every time, too.
Everything's perfectly all right now. We're fine. We're all fine here now. Thank you. How are you?